Val Kilmer to star in a new movie. Let me make sure I have the title right. As deep as the grave. I almost said as deep as a grave. Yes, you heard me correctly. Val Kilmer, who has passed away, will be starring in a new movie as deep as the grave. The reason I want to bring up this because this is fascinating. We know there's a lot going on with AI, how much it keeps improving and changing, and there's a lot of talk about what that means for mediums like film, like television. And there are a whole lot of people who are dead set against it, a lot of people who think it's going to be a huge benefit, and a million different opinions in between. And for me, it really, I'm not in either camp. I think there's a lot of it depends in there in terms of what it is you are using for. But this is fascinating because apparently this is something Val Kilmer seem to be okay with, which is why it's happening. As Variety reported, Val Kilmer has been resurrected via AI to star in the new movie As Deep as the Grave. Kilmer was cast, okay? So this is important too to understand. Kilmer was cast in the movie in 2020, 5 years before his death. But he was too sick amid his throat cancer battle to ever make it to set. Now, an AI version of the actor is appearing in the film with the full blessing of his daughter, Mercedes, who, quote, he always looked at emerging technologies with optimism as a tool to expand the possibilities of storytelling. This spirit is something that we are all honoring within this specific film, of which he was an integral part. And then he was the actor I wanted to play this role, says writer director Corte Voorhees. It was very much designed around him. It drew on his Native American heritage and his ties to and love of the Southwest. His family kept saying how important they thought the movie was and that Val really wanted to be a part of this. He really thought it was an important story that he wanted his name on. It was that support that gave me the confidence to say, okay, let's do this. Despite the fact some people might call it controversial, this is what Val wanted. First of all, thank you for checking this out. I really appreciate it. Do me a huge favor if you are enjoying the content. If you've been here before, if you're liking this video so far, hit the like button. And also, please hit that subscribe button as well. My goal is by the end of the month to get to 300 subscribers. I know that doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, but it's a big deal to me to the on the way to the ultimate goal of 1,000. I know one thing I got to do is get back to being more consistent with videos. I actually did a couple of reviews recently, including Scream 7, and they got blocked, which is wild. Apparently, I wasn't allowed to use the trailer even without sound, despite the fact that that's an advertisement that helps people decide on whether or not they're going to a movie. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So, first of all, what is interesting about this? One of the things we've heard a lot with AI in terms of actors is, in a way like this, the resurrection, shall we say, but of actors who have long passed, right? Maybe we're gonna get Rebel Without a Cause 2 with James Dean, maybe we're gonna get sequels to Westerns with a young Clint Eastwood. Well, obviously, okay, Clint's still here, but you know the point that I'm making. That now this is a very different one because at least if we're to listen to all of this, Val Kilmer himself would have been okay with this. Now, a lot of things with this. One, I am very curious to see this just to see how well it's done, right? AI has made tremendous strides. I don't think it's there yet in terms of film. Like you see a lot of cool clips. I've been paying attention to them of people making action sequences and everything, but they're not controlling everything. There's stuff that is wonky. I've seen a lot of fights like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise with the different characters from movies, and that doesn't look great, but there's a lot of stuff that does, and it looks night and day compared to, even a few short months ago. Now, there are a lot of things that I think let me put it this way. Okay, let's talk animation. Forget live action, forget using, actors who are not here anymore. But let's say we're doing some type of animation, whether it's, realistic animation or what you get in, a movie like Cars with Pixar, or, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of animation. But if AI gets to the point where you can control it well enough, right? That's the thing that I think is lacking where people say, "Oh, you're not really a creative, you're not a writer, you're not a producer because you're putting in a sort of general prompt and then you're getting what you get," as opposed to, a script that gets written and then you get the shooting script for those who don't know with the director that's going to have camera angles and all that. When you get to the point where it can be dialed in as if you were actually the one shooting a film as a director and you can control enough to get what you want from an actor as if you were a director say, hey, I need you to deliver the line this way, and maybe you glance here, you glance up, or you have a smirk on it. Then it gets really interesting. That's why I'm really interested to see what we have with Val Kilmer, because in a way, don't forget, we've already done this in both with both an actor who's alive and an actor who has passed. Is go to Rogue One. Talk about a massive film that has been put in. Rogue One with Star Wars with Disney. We had Carrie Fisher at the end, really short, but you had Grand Moff Tarkin throughout. Peter Cushing. Now, was it absolutely perfect? No. Was it good enough to be in a Star Wars movie? Yes, and that was not AI, that was just CGI, right? And that's where it gets interesting for me is if you can completely control everything using AI the way you do CGI, but it's going to be faster and maybe cost less, is that really a battle that wants to be fought? Now, when you get into, the stuff with using, when you get estates who maybe want to cash in, so, a relative who's been passed away for decades and like, hey, yeah, go use them, because then you're getting, well, would the actor want that? Is that the right thing to do? You get into that morality area. And then even like this with Val Kilmer is, is that the performance he would want, right? Would he be okay with delivering the line that way? And you get into so many different iffy things. Um, so it's going to be really interesting for us to see how good this looks with Val Kilmer, because I do think we will eventually get to the point where you can do everything from a creative perspective, right? In terms of complete control. You maybe shoot a scene. If anyone saw, say, Serenity, where that early scene where you have this long, unbroken shot following two of the characters through the ship as they're having a conversation. And when you can start controlling that much, then you have then it really gets interesting into the discussions because yes, you have to be able to write prompts in the way to get the AI to do it. But if you're talking about that amount of control, the amount of control you'd have, say, when you're doing an animated film, let's say you're doing animation, right? You're using AI instead of CGI or animators or whatever, but you have the animators, the artists who create, right? So we're getting something new. They're creating the characters for you and the world for you, but then you're using AI to bring it to life, so to speak, instead of how it's traditionally done. But you're still using real live people to do the voiceovers. Is that acceptable or is that too much, right? Then what is the difference between what is being done now and that? You see what I'm getting at? So it really, really gets complicated. So I think this is actually a huge first step because we were talking about an actor, a well-known actor going to be in a major movie release. So I'm really curious what y'all think. Let me know in the comments below. Smash the like button. Please subscribe if you're enjoying this. I will talk to you later.